I'm going to walk you through, step by step and in plain language, how people typically select romantic partners for short-term relationships and for long-term commitments, and then show practical, you don't, everyday ways to increase the chance of choosing someone who's a good fit and keeping that connection healthy over time. Don't. I'll use examples you've probably seen in movies or lived in everyday life. Meeting someone at a cafe, swiping on a dating app. Don't. Being introduced by friends. And I'll translate what's happening in those moments into clear, useful ideas you can try. This is for a general audience. No medical jargon, no academic heavy lifting, just clear explanations and real practical tips you can act on today. You don't. Think of this as a conversational guide you could read before going on a date, before starting to date again, or any time you want to understand why relationships begin. You don't. Why some fizzle and why others deepen and last. Start with the very first moment-y attraction. Attraction is often the first filter people notice when choosing a partner. You don't, especially in short-term situations. Attraction isn't only about looks, it's a mix of physical signals, body language, voice tone, smell, and even timing. For example, you don't. You might find yourself drawn to someone because they smiled first, because they laughed at your joke, or because they have a calm voice that feels safe. In short, term scenarios, a summer fling, a weekend romance, or a casual date, physical cues and novelty often carry more weight. People want to feel excited, desired, don't, or stimulated. A practical tip here is to notice what truly grabs your attention. Is it purely physical, or is it also the way the person treated the barista? Don't. How they listened for a moment, or how they entered the room with ease. If you're aiming for something brief and fun, you don't. Be honest with yourself and others about expectations. If you want something deeper, notice whether that initial attraction comes with small signs of respect and kindness, because those matter more in the long run. Next, consider ease and opportunity, proximity, frequency, and shared contexts are powerful. Don't. People often end up with partners they see regularly. Classmates, coworkers, neighbors, or friends of friends. This happens because repeated exposure reduces uncertainty and builds familiarity. Familiarity often breeds comfort that can turn into affection. You don't. Imagine two people who share a gym, smile at each other for weeks, and finally start talking. That repeated, low-stakes contact makes starting a relationship feel natural. Don't. For short-term selection, proximity might create an easy spark. For long-term selection, frequent positive interactions let you see how someone behaves across different situations. A practical tip here, if you want to meet people with long-term potential, invest time in communities and activities that reflect your values. A pottery class, volunteering, a neighborhood group, because those settings let you see consistent patterns of behavior over time. Similarity and shared values matter more than we often admit. Don't. Whether it's similar humor, political outlook, religious beliefs, or views on family and children, similarity reduces friction and increases the chance that two people will build a life together smoothly. For short-term relationships, you don't. Similarity might be less crucial. Many people enjoy a relationship with someone who has different hobbies or backgrounds because it's exciting. You don't. For long-term partnerships, however, alignment on core values and life goals becomes essential. Consider two people who love nature and prioritize sustainability. Don't. It's easier for them to agree on travel choices, household purchases, or how to raise children. A practical exercise before committing to someone long-term. You don't. Have honest talks about non-negotiables, finances, family expectations, desire for children, career ambitions, and write them down if it helps. Don't. It's not romantic to ignore big differences in the hope they'll vanish. Clarity early saves stress later. Personality traits that predict long-term relationship success are straightforward and practical: friendliness, emotional stability, trustworthiness, empathy, don't, and the ability to apologize and change. In short-term contexts, traits like confidence, charisma, and spontaneity shine, but they don't guarantee long-term compatibility. Don't. The person who's wildly entertaining at a party might struggle with routine or emotional responsibility. When you're evaluating someone for lasting partnership, you don't. Pay attention to how they handle everyday friction. Do they respond calmly when plans go wrong? Do they take responsibility when they hurt you? Do they show curiosity about your feelings? A concrete tip is to observe low-stress, everyday moments when they're ordering food, dealing with a delayed train, or reacting to minor frustration. Those moments reveal how someone will likely act during bigger life stressors. Attachment style is a simple, useful concept to understand because it explains how people approach closeness and distance. In plain terms, some people are comfortable with intimacy and trust secure. Some worry a lot about being abandoned anxious. And some are uncomfortable with closeness and often pull away avoidant. Most adults aren't pure categories. Think of this as a spectrum, but knowing your style and noticing it in others helps explain why patterns repeat. For instance, don't. A person who is anxious might text a lot at the start of a relationship and fear silence. Don't. While an avoidant partner may need more space and get uncomfortable with heavy emotional talks. Practical tip: reflect on your own reactions. Do you panic when a partner doesn't return a call? Do you need a lot of reassurance to feel safe? If you can name your tendencies, you can choose partners whose styles complement yours or learn strategies like clear communication and slowing down the relationship that reduce misunderstanding. You don't. Biological impulses and short-term mating strategies play a role, but they don't decide everything, and culture and personal choice shape how they appear. Don't. People often use short-term relationships to explore attraction, to experience novelty, or to fulfill specific needs. For example, don't. Someone might enjoy the energy of short-term dating after a breakup because it helps them remember they're desirable. In contrast, long-term relationship selection tends to emphasize reliability, a capacity for cooperation and shared future planning. Practical advice: don't. If you find yourself drawn to quick, exciting connections, but also longing for stability, give yourself permission to date with clearly stated intentions. That clarity helps prevent confusion and emotional harm to both you and others. Family background and social context influence partner choices more than some people realize. Parents, siblings, and cultural expectations teach us what is normal in relationships, who we should date, how we should court, and what gender roles look like. For instance, in some families, marrying someone from the same town or socioeconomic background is expected. In others, exploring different cultures is encouraged. These influences are not destiny, but they shape the criteria you use when choosing a partner. Don't. A practical step is to ask yourself which expectations you carry and whether they reflect your true values. You don't. If your family expects a certain type of partner, but your own values differ, you'll face tension down the line unless you acknowledge and navigate those differences early. Timing and readiness are practical realities people underestimate. Someone who is emotionally ready and free to invest in a partner is a different prospect than someone early in a demanding career, recovering from grief, or juggling children from a previous relationship. Short-term relationships often require less emotional bandwidth and are more forgiving of messy timing. You don't. Long-term partnerships demand alignment in stages of life and bandwidth. If you're dating while finishing a degree or shifting careers, be transparent about your availability and what you can realistically offer. A concrete tip: don't. Think in terms of seasons. Are you in a busy season, a growing season, or a settling season? Match your relationship expectations to that reality. You don't. And communicate it. Online dating has changed selection and created both new opportunities and new pitfalls. Profiles, photos, don't. And quick messages compress selection down to a few cues, and that's great for efficiency but risky for depth. For short-term selection, online platforms make meeting many potential partners easy, and that can be fun and efficient. For long-term searches, they are helpful when used thoughtfully. Clear profiles, honest photos, and meaningful prompts attract people whose values align with yours. Practical tips include writing specific, personal details in your bio, else I love weekend hikes, cooking Indian food, and Sunday markets, rather than broad statements. You don't. And asking two simple questions early in conversation that reveal values or life goals. Also, when matching, don't. Look for consistency between what a person says in their profile and what they say in conversation. Big contradictions are red flags. Communication skills play a central role in both selection and retention. Early conversations help you assess compatibility. Do they ask thoughtful questions? You don't. Do they listen more than they talk? Do they respond to your stories with curiosity rather than judgment? Short-term relationships often thrive on playful banter and flirtation, but long-term relationships need honest, sometimes awkward conversations about finances, health, boundaries, and future plans. A practical tip is to practice active listening, repeat back what you heard, so you loved your job because. Ask, follow up questions, don't, and keep your tone curious, not defensive or interrogative. If someone consistently avoids answering meaningful questions, don't. That's a sign they might not be ready to commit to deeper connection. Observe consistency of behavior over time. Words matter. You don't. But actions are the reliable currency of trust. This applies both when picking a partner and when deciding whether to commit. For short-term dating, don't. Inconsistency might look like hot and cold texting. In long-term matters, inconsistency can mean promises that never materialize. Don't. If someone says they value family but never follow through on family plans, that mismatch is significant. A useful rule: don't. Give small commitments weight because they're predictive. If someone repeatedly misses small promises, shows up late, cancels plans often, you don't, forgets important things, you can reasonably expect more serious promises might also go unmet. Practical tippy: set a small, you don't, reasonable expectation early, and see if it's met. Plan a brunch and notice whether they arrive on time and communicate if things change. Red flags deserve straightforward attention because spotting them early can prevent long-term harm. Some clear warning signs include controlling behaviors, deciding who you concede, extreme jealousy, don't, quick escalation of seriousness, pushing you to commit before you're ready, persistent dishonesty, minimizing your feelings, don't, or gaslighting making you doubt your reality. In short-term contexts, you don't. Red flags may be different, manipulative charm or boundary pushing that aims for immediate compliance are common. Practical advice: trust your instincts. If something feels off, slow the relationship down, discuss what you noticed, and watch the response. You don't. People who react defensively or blame you for your concerns often don't handle conflict or empathy well. Keeping a partner is a combination of building habitual kindness, don't, shared meaning, and adaptive problem solving. The early honeymoon phase is chemically intense and can hide incompatibilities. Long-term stability comes from dozens of small habits, simple rituals, texting, good morning, regular date nights, don't, or a weekly check-in about how things are going, are not boring. They're deposits in an emotional bank account. To make this practical, you don't. Pick one small ritual and keep it for a month. A 10-minute evening debrief, a Saturday morning walk, or a monthly list of things you appreciate about each other. These tiny you don't. Consistent gestures add up into deep feelings of being seen and valued. Maintaining attraction isn't magic. It's a deliberate blend of novelty and safety. You don't. People often mistake constant excitement for attraction, but over time novelty has to be paired with predictability and safety. If you want to keep desire alive, don't. Include regular new experiences, try a new cuisine together, take a dance class, or plan a surprise outing, but combine that with dependable support, being on time, listening, and keeping promises. A concrete tip: set a surprise night once a month where one partner plans something small and new, meaning you don't, and the other simply shows up with an open mind. The surprise element keeps dopamine active, and the routine of showing up keeps oxytocin and trust high. You don't. Conflict is inevitable, and the way couples handle it predicts whether they last. Effective conflict resolution follows a few basic patterns. Pause to cool down when emotions are high. Use I statements to express how you feel without blaming. Focus on the specific issue rather than attacking character. Don't. And end with a concrete repair, either apology, changed behavior, or plan to try something different. For example, instead of saying, "You never help around the house," try, "I feel overwhelmed when the dishes pile up. Could we agree on a plan for chores?" Practical tips include implementing a rule where neither partner raises major issues when tired or under stress. Don't. And scheduling a calm conversation later instead. If patterns of contempt, stonewalling, or contempt appear regularly, you don't. Consider seeing a counselor or taking a structured relationship skills class. Trust grows from consistent, trustworthy behavior and from effective repairs when mistakes happen. Everyone messes up. What matters is how the mistake is handled. A sincere apology has 3 parts. You don't. A clear statement of what went wrong, an expression of understanding of how it hurt the other person, and a plan to make things different. For instance, "I'm sorry I forgot our anniversary. I see that made you feel unimportant. Next year, You don't. Meaning you don't. I'll plan something and set a reminder so this doesn't happen again. Small daily acts matter too. Being reliable, telling the truth even when it's hard, and following through on promises. Practical TP if trust has been damaged. Create micro steps to rebuild it. Small promises with short timelines that can be achieved and verified. Don't. Sexual intimacy and physical affection are important for many relationships, but they're not identical to emotional intimacy. Short-term relationships may focus heavily on sexual chemistry and immediate physical connection. Long-term relationships need communication about desires, boundaries, don't, and changes over time. People's sexual needs and energies change across the lifespan and with stress, so adaptability is crucial. A practical approach is to have regular, non-judgmental conversations about intimacy, not just about frequency, but about preferences, fantasies, and what makes each partner feel connected. Try having a no-blame conversation where each partner shares what helps them feel desired and what makes them feel disconnected. You don't. Emotional support goes beyond offering advice. It's often about being present. When a partner shares a worry, the automatic helpful move is to fix the problem. Don't. But what's often more healing is to listen and validate feelings. Simple phrases like, "That sounds really hard," or "I can see why you feel that way," build emotional safety. Also important is the balance of giving and receiving care. Relationships thrive when both people can be cared for without keeping score. Don't. A practical exercise is the 2-minute check-in. Once a day, spend 2 minutes each saying how your day went and what you needed. It's short, manageable. Don't. And keeps empathy trained. Money and practical logistics are surprisingly big factors in long-term relationship success and are less glamorous than romance, but crucial. You don't. Differences in spending habits, debt, or financial priorities create real stress. Couples who last discuss money honestly, budgets, savings goals, and major purchases. You don't. Whether you pool money or keep separate accounts, transparency matters. Practical tips: have a first money talk that covers current debts, basic monthly expenses, and short-term financial goals. Small shared rituals like a monthly finance check. And keep surprises minimal and decisions shared. You don't. Parenting and family planning are major life choices that can make or break long-term compatibility. Even if you're not planning to have kids now, discussing attitudes toward parenting, discipline, and education reveals deep values. Some couples align instantly. You don't. Others discover mismatches that are hard to reconcile later. Practical advice is to have these talks before making life changes. Don't. Ask questions like, how do you imagine weekends with kids? Or, what values would we want to teach children? These conversations illuminate whether you're on the same page or need alignment work. Don't. Create shared meaning and rituals. People who stay together often have rituals that reinforce identity, as a couple songs, traditions, inside jokes, or even a specific way of celebrating small wins. These patterns make a relationship feel unique and special. For instance, some couples have a Sunday morning coffee ritual. Others send each other a photo at midday. These small symbols of togetherness create a shared story. Practical step: don't. Start one small ritual this week, maybe a goodbye kiss, a playlist you both add to, or a text at bedtime, and keep it consistently for a month. You don't. Support each other's growth and maintain personal interests. Healthy long-term relationships allow space for individual identity and support for personal goals. You don't. If one partner quits a job to pursue a passion project, the other's support can make a huge difference. Don't. But this support must be balanced with honest conversations about finances and responsibilities. Conversely, relationships that smother personal growth often breed resentment. Practical tip: you don't. Set one monthly check-in where you each share progress on personal goals and ask for one specific way your partner can support you. Weigh trade-offs and practice realistic compromise. No person is perfect, and expecting a partner to meet every need is unrealistic. You don't. The skill is to recognize which trade-offs are acceptable and which are not. For instance, one partner may accept a different taste in movies if the other is dependable and generous, but misalignments on core values, like honesty, fidelity, or children, aren't trade-offs to be managed casually. Practical strategy: create a short list of must-haves and nice-to-haves for what you want in a partner. If a mismatch appears in a must-have area, treat it seriously. Know when to repair and when to leave. Some conflicts are repairable and, when worked through, can deepen intimacy. Others are persistent patterns that cause ongoing harm. If you notice repeated cycles of disrespect, emotional or physical abuse, or chronic neglect of promises, these are signs the relationship may be unsafe or unhealthy. Don't. Conversely, if issues are recurring but both partners are willing to change and take concrete steps, repair is possible. Practical step: set a limit on how many times you'll try a specific repair without meaningful change. If the pattern continues past that, consider seeking outside help or stepping away. Don't. Maintain friendships and outside supports. Isolation is a relationship killer. Don't. Couples who spend all their time together often lose the external sources of identity and happiness that keep them grounded. Friends provide perspective, emotional variety. You don't. And opportunities for growth beyond the couple identity. Practical suggestion: schedule one social outing per week with friends or family. Don't. And encourage your partner to do the same. This keeps social batteries charged and reduces pressure on relationship to be everything. Boredom and routine are normal, and they can be resisted with creativity. Many couples fall into autopilot and then wonder where the spark went. You don't need grand gestures. Small, thoughtful actions make a big difference. Leave a short note, surprise with a favorite snack, or suggest a 2-hour walk in a new neighborhood. Practical exercise: every month, each partner writes down 3 new activities they'd like to try together, then alternate choosing one item from the list each month. Don't. Forgiveness and repair require structure, apologies, restitution, and changed behavior. After a fight, don't. Simply saying sorry without changing behavior doesn't build trust. A repair offers a clear path: acknowledgement, understanding, apology. Don't. And a plan to act differently. For instance, if you repeatedly cancel plans last minute, the repair might include a commitment to only schedule things you can keep and a plan to communicate earlier when something comes up. Practical tip: when you receive an apology, hold it against the person for a reasonable time to see if behavior changes. This is how trust is rebuilt. Don't. Sexual satisfaction changes over time and intentionality helps. Long-term couples often experience shifts in desire due to stress, health, or life transitions. Recognizing this is normal removes shame, regularly exploring what feels good, scheduling intimacy when life is busy, and being curious rather than judging helps connection. Don't. Practical ideas. Try a check-in about intimacy once a month where each partner can share in a non-judgmental way what's working and what could change. You don't? Jealousy is a signal, not a sentence. Feeling jealous doesn't make you a bad partner. It's often a signal about insecurity, unmet needs, or boundary issues. The useful response is curiosity. What exactly about this situation triggered me? Rather than accusation, work on specific feelings. Fear of abandonment, don't. Fear of being replaced, and share them calmly. Practical step: when jealousy arises, pause and jot down the specific thought. Rate its intensity. Don't. And then discuss it with your partner using I statements rather than blame. Prepare for life transitions as a team. Moving cities, career shifts, becoming parents, don't. Or health changes, test relationships. The key is planning together, discuss possible scenarios, divide tasks, and set check-ins after transitions. For example, you don't. If one partner will take a demanding job, discuss childcare, household divisions, and how you'll maintain time together. Practical tip before a big change: don't have a planning meeting that lists potential stressors and practical solutions. Revisit the plan after 1, 3, and 6 months. You don't. Create a practical relationship toolbox of strategies you can use when things get rocky. Scheduled check-ins, don't. A mutually agreed time out. Signal for heated moments. A list of repair steps, apology, explanation, restitution, plan, and a set of shared rituals to restore connection. This toolbox is like a first aid kit, not glamorous, but extremely useful in emergencies. Practical exercise, don't. Spend one evening creating your toolbox together, write it down, and leave a copy where you can both access it. Choose clarity over ambiguity in expectations and labels. Don't. Modern dating allows for ambiguous arrangements, but ambiguity breeds misunderstanding and hurt. If you want exclusivity, say it. If you're open to casual dating, don't. Say that too. People often assume that silence means something it does not, so explicit conversation saves confusion. Practical tip: at a natural pause in the relationship, after a few dates or after a few months, ask, don't. How do you see this relationship? Use the answer to align expectations or to decide your next steps. Cultivate curiosity about your partner's inner life. People who stay together aren't the ones who stop asking questions. They keep being interested. Ask about childhood memories, fears, dreams, and daily annoyances. This curiosity builds intimacy because it signals that you value the person's inner world. Practical routine. Set aside 15 minutes a day where you each answer one question like, what was the best part of your day? Or what's one small worry you have this week? These simple check-ins create habitual curiosity. Recognize and respect boundaries as gifts, not obstacles. Boundaries are how people protect their well-being and show what they need to feel safe. A partner's need for alone time, a limit on certain topics, or a boundary about social media is not a rejection. It's information about how to love them well. Practical step: when a boundary is shared, respond with curiosity. Help me understand what you need when you ask for alone time. How will I know you're okay after? This approach turns boundaries into tools for closeness. Invest in shared goals and projects. Long-term couples who remain close often Have shared projects like renovating a kitchen, training for a race together, or planning a meaningful trip. Don't. These projects create teamwork that reinforces commitment. Practical idea. Pick a shared goal with a clear timeline and steps. It could be cooking one new recipe together each week for 3 months, saving for a short trip you don't, or volunteering together. The teamwork strengthens the couple identity and creates positive shared memories. If repair attempts aren't working, seek help early. There's no shame in getting outside support. Couples counseling can teach communication tools, help unpack recurring patterns, and provide neutral feedback. Waiting until a crisis is deep often makes change harder. Practical tips: if you've tried 3 concrete repairs and the same pattern returns, don't. Consider a short course or a few counseling sessions to get tools and an outside perspective. Celebrate small wins and gratitude daily. Appreciation is often neglected, but is a powerful glue. Saying thank you for small things. Making coffee, taking the dog out, don't. Listening after a long day signals recognition and fosters goodwill. Practical habit every night. Don't. Share one sentence about something your partner did that day you appreciated. That 5 to 10-second ritual shifts attention toward positives and builds resilience. Don't. Talk about long-term visions and practical next steps. If you see a future with someone, don't leave the big things unspoken. Discuss where you want to live, how you envision retirement, and how finances and healthcare should be handled. These are not romantic topics, but they prevent later conflict. Practical approach. Schedule a vision date where you each share 5 things you imagine for the next 5 years. Compare notes and identify where you align. Finally, be kind to yourself. Don't. The process of selecting and keeping a romantic partner involves choices, risks, and learning. You will make mistakes, change your mind, and sometimes experience heartbreak. That's part of human life. What matters is learning from experience, practicing kindness toward yourself and others, and staying curious about growth. Practical final tip. After major relationship events, a first date, a breakup, a big argument, give yourself one small act of self-care, whether it's a walk, talking to a friend, or journaling about what you learned. These small acts help you process, learn, and step forward with greater wisdom. If you take nothing else from this conversation, don't. Remember these 4 simple action steps. First, be honest with yourself about what you want: short-term fun vs. long-term partnership, and date accordingly. Second, look for consistency in behavior, kind treatment, and shared values rather than only relying on chemistry. Third, build small. Don't. Daily rituals and clear communication habits that reinforce safety and connection. Fourth, practice repair, curiosity, and willingness to seek help when patterns repeat. Love isn't a single event, but a series of choices and habits. By choosing wisely at the start and investing in proven, everyday practices, you give any relationship, short or long, the best chance to be fulfilling, safe, and lasting.